Have you ever felt lost, confused, or indecisive, and then suddenly a feather just appeared in your path, and instantly you just knew the answer to all of your questions? Or maybe friends and family keep buying you animal themed things, and you're wondering, why do I have like 10 pairs of frog knickers or owl cushions? And you want to understand, why is this animal turned up in my life? Or perhaps an animal has appeared to you in a dream and you're wondering, what does this symbolize? What does this mean? How can this help me with my current challenge or obstacle? This is why I have created the YouTube series Animal with myself and guests. It's going to offer you insight into what is the magic, the myth, the medicine of the animal kingdom. What does it mean to have a spirit guide that is a particular animal, and how can they support you in your life's journey, in your healing, and in your connection to self? So whether you are seeking an animal guide, or you want to understand yours better, or maybe even yourself better, or perhaps you're just curious about the symbology, the mythology, the wisdom, medicine, and magic of animals, then this is the perfect series of interviews for you. An easy and accessible way to understand the relevance of animal spirit guides to you, along with practical tips and tools for integrating the wisdom of animals into your everyday life and into your spiritual practice. Now let us fly, gallop, and dive into this episode and the support and inspiration that will empower you. Okay, so welcome to this episode of Animal. I'm really excited to have Elyse Welles with me today. So she is an initiated high priestess in the eclectic fairy tradition of witchcraft. She holds an MA in witchcraft and is the best-selling author with Llewellyn books, The Sacred Wild, an invitation to connect to spirits of the land. She's also a native Greek priestess, reviving the lost earth priestess arts in her work with land spirits and the framed drum. She teaches online containers and guides immersive pilgrimages to Greece's sacred places. And she's going to be sharing about cats for us today. Meow, I'm so excited. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. And when I first suggested cat to you, I feel like there was a part of me that's like, I hope this isn't too small of a topic because it's actually a really big one.
Uh-huh. Yes, I was just saying that we could be going on for hours. Like, I'm a huge cat fan. Definitely, like, it's the only way that Instagram and Facebook get me, is like they hold me in through the cat videos.
Yes,
Everything else I can
actually,
ignore, but cats, like doing cat things, oh, just adore them.
so true. That's the only time I scroll is on my personal Facebook. The reels there are targeted, it's just cats. So when I need a little dopamine boost, that's like where I dig.
Uh-huh. I think it's their way of, like, they really do control the world. I think they are the superior power, and I think that's the way that, yeah, they're really kind of keeping us under their paws. I think.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're all fascinated by cats. We all love cats for sure. But you're here today to share with us the magic of cats, so connecting to cats on, a deeper level. I think they've been spiritually important for people, almost in every culture. I think they're respected, aren't they? Revered, and even have become deities. So can you share with us, from your perspective, what is the magic of cats? So why do they inspire us? What kind of special thing do they have? If they were to become your animal guide or spirit guide, why and what would they be doing?
That is such a good question because I think people do minimize cats. They don't always think of because they're around, right? Like when somebody says, "What's your spirit messenger? What's your animal messenger?" They go for bear, wolf, these creatures that are almost elusive to us. And so their medicine can feel abstract because the animal is abstract. But cat medicine, house cat medicine, traditional cats, they are ubiquitous. You know, it's very hard to go through life without running into a cat. And uh, I think that ubiquity is part of their magic. Like you said, they're everywhere, so they kind of keep us under their thrall that way. And anybody who's lived with a cat knows that cats have a spirit to them that is independent. They're very independent. I always say my cats are more like my roommates than, you know, like a dog is like, I've never had a dog as an adult on my own, but when we had a dog growing up, they were more like another kid in the house. Like they needed you to kind of guide them, and cats are just not like that. You know, they love us, but on their terms. And I think people who have a visceral hate for cats usually tend to be red flag people, you know, because there is such an independent fierceness in a cat that if somebody's offended by that, if that's a trigger for them to be around,
Mhm.
they probably have issues with control. They probably have some tendencies to, you know, if they don't like empowered animals, what are they going to think about the people in their life being empowered and individualistic? So cats give us that gift of presence where they allow us to be more aware of the space we curate. They're space cleansers. One of the things I love about cats is their healing power. And they only do it if they want to do it. But when they come and sit on your chest when you're having a really hard day and you're grieving or you're angry or you're lonely, they will start purring. And that purr equalizes our I feel it in my heart chakra, and it spreads out like this warm cocoon of love to every part of my body. I suffer from anxiety, and one of my cats, who's a Greek rescue, I want to talk about that too, like how important cats are in the Greek culture. He will come up every morning, and I wake up with anxiety. Like that's usually the problem for me, is it starts right away. And my cat will come lay on my chest and just purr. And that's usually how I wake up now, is him purring me awake. And it's such a gift. It's so kind. He doesn't want anything, you know, he has food on a timer. Like he gets wet food, but it's not right away when we wake up. He gets it at lunch. So he really does it altruistically to come and purr and be part of my morning routine. And the other thing about cats that people I think even less about is they are glamour magicians. They are excellent glamour magicians. They communicate with their face and their eyes and their tail and the way they posture themselves in definitive ways. You know, they'll sit across the room from you and you will know they want you to come over and pet them without a single word being spoken. It's all in their pose and the way they direct their eyes at you. And then the other way around, if they do not want you, you know that too. They will project that shield very definitively.
Yeah, yeah. I can, yeah. I had my cat passed away in the spring, and I love what you were saying about kind of they have this almost like they're attuned, like this intuitive kind of how we're feeling. And she knew when I was on my period, like she would just know. And even like sometimes she would know before I knew because she'd start like kind of sitting on my womb area. And I always found that amazing. Like she had like this instinctual kind of like, yeah, and she just knew what to do in that situation as well, that I just found, yeah, fascinating. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd love you to talk a little bit before we go into kind of like your experiences with cats. Like I know that a lot of people are drawn to cats kind of through the deities that are connected to them. So like my specialism is Roman deities. So Diana is our our queen of cats, the goddess of cats. And then like I found when my cat was passing away in the spring, that Bast was here so strong. And like I felt like almost like I didn't need to do anything because she was holding space like for my cat passing over, like incredibly. So do you have any experiences of like working with cat deities? Do you think they're important? You know, when you start working with cats, do you think they'll come forward?
Oh yeah, definitely. Another one is Freya. She is pulled by a chariot that is pulled by cats. And Freya became a bigger part of my path after moving to Greece full time. So for those unfamiliar with my background, my mom is American, but my dad is Greek Egyptian. So I have both the Greek and the Egyptian nationality, in addition to American. And all of my life, we've spent time in Greece each year. And that kind of grew and grew the older I got. Unfortunately, education meant we had to stay in the US as much as we could growing up. But then after I graduated university, I started spending longer months in Greece. And then in 2021, I moved full time to Greece. And Freya started revealing her gifts of connection through the lineage I work with. I call it the red thread. It's Inanna at the kind of beginning of this through history, and then she moves gradually west. So she becomes, as she moves, Ishtar, Astarte, Anat, Ashtaroth, all these different localized deities of Canaan and places like that in modern day Israel. And then as she gets to Cyprus, she becomes Aphrodite. And then she keeps moving. And over a decade now of working with Inanna, she's guided me to understand that this red thread lineage continues west and west and west and west, and getting itself all the way to the Morrigan and other, dark goddesses, as the common vernacular is. Dark is such a, you know, but cats are called dark too, aren't they? And they're just
Hmm.
full of light and love because we can't have light if there's no shadows. And Freya, if we think of this as a map, Freya is kind of included in this circle of dark goddesses. And she's a glamour magician. That's her biggest gift to us is glamour. And I think that's an interesting connection to the cats there as well. So it was really interesting to have her come through. And Artemis as well. Artemis, of course, she's the Greek counterpart to Diana. She's a very, very old deity. Her name is actually not Greek, it's Mycenaean. So we don't know exactly the meaning of her words. Arta is like a very old Greek root word for flower. So it could have had something to do with grains, which makes sense. Um, Demeter's a newer goddess, so we think maybe even Artemis is Demeter. That kind of through line is there. But Artemis is a protector of cats, and where I live in Greece is overrun. I mean, most parts of Greece are overrun with stray cats, and it's actually a family effort. My grandparents, my dad and mom, and my aunt and myself and my husband have been working to protect the cats in our environment. As a family, we have sterilized and released and found homes for and found, different avenues of saving these cats. Over 500 now that we have worked to save. And quite a few of them are in the homes of my friends and, other witches and pagans and polytheists that I know. So that's a really special, Artemis is sending out her little ambassadors to these healers and these important people in my life, which feels really, it is a gift. And, I'm like, here's the cat. So it's a really beautiful connection. So Artemis, very much there are cats connected with her as well, and she definitely guided me to. That's my offering to the land is to take care of these cats and keep them fed, and even when I travel, we have this family network that is taking care of them.
Yeah, wonderful. Oh, well, thank you for that because I celebrate you and honor you for looking after cats. It's such a needed, like a needed job. Like I haven't been to the rest of Greece sadly yet. I'm going to hopefully with you one day. You're like on my tick list. But we go, my family, I mean, we go to Crete, and you see so many stray cats there, and the locals don't take any notice. It's the tourists. Like you can tell a British person because they're there, like buying whiskers, packets look at cats, and they're like, "Don't go near the cats. Don't touch the cats." So I am so glad that there's something being done for them because, like you said, they offer us so much, and they do that unconditionally. And if we can just give a tiny portion of that back, then yes, much needed. Um, so do you think that a goddess would appear as a cat to somebody? So if they say, "Oh, I've been dreaming about cats," would you say it's a sign of, a goddess coming? Or, I do find that a lot of people that identify as witches will actually have like cats turn up as well. It's not necessary a goddess, but do you think that it is a sign that the goddess is trying to communicate?
I think it can be. I think often animal medicine comes to us in a personal way, especially when it's something abstract. Like it's not an animal that you really do run into that often. So if you don't have a cat, for example, and a cat is appearing in your backyard, or especially a healthy cat, it's not a cat that needs your help. It just is showing up to say hi. Um, I think it can be a way for deity to get in touch with us. It can also be a way for our own, uh, spirit guides to get in touch with us. So um, that's where spirit verification can be a tricky, long process of asking for more signs and getting those clarifications and seeing who it definitely is. I think cats tend to come to people, in my experience with the students I've had, and the write-ins for questions I've gotten from readers, is cats will come when there is a reminder to be more discerning in your life, to take empowerment, and particularly to begin acting. If you've been in a reactive state, maybe for years, maybe you defer to your partner when big decisions come up, or maybe you have a job that's more flexible than your partner, and so the timeline of where you live and what you do is not necessarily in your control. Maybe you just react to things that way. Because reacting makes, sometimes people think, oh, well, that's always bad. And it's not always. Sometimes we do make that decision, but sometimes we've made that decision too long to the point where we don't notice that's what we do anymore. Cats ask us to be active. So that is a big reason why I've seen cats appear to people in the ethereal realm that way. Another way that cats, especially outdoors, like in your waking life, you're in your yard, you're on your porch, and the stray cat comes by, black cats in particular, it is a cliche for a reason. They will come by to kind of, in my experience, if they're coming by as the universe saying, you are embracing your path. Don't think that we don't see you, kind of thing. We actually had that when we first moved into the house we live in now. This black cat, very healthy as well, like really healthy. We found out that actually somebody owns them diagonal from us. And this black cat with this cute little white spot on his chest, so which was perfect because we knew exactly it was him every time. He started coming by and just sitting on the porch with us. He didn't want food, we didn't feed him. He just started spending time with us, and it felt like a neighbor coming by to just say, "Hey, how's it going?" What? And if that was who welcomed us to the neighborhood, was this black cat, and I took that as a confirmation of, okay, I am meant to be here. I did make the right choice moving here. And I think cats are almost always a good omen. I've never had somebody like, there's always that kind of Christianized understanding that black cats are bad omens. Um, in my experience, actually, that's never been the case. So I would say don't worry about it for sure if you have a cat coming to you.
I think that's very reassuring because I think that people do, yeah, do have this ingrained idea that cats are dangerous and or they're associated with evil or negative things, and I think that that isn't the case once you have a cat. And I think that having a cat changes that. It certainly did with me. Like, I was attacked by a cat when I was very young. I don't really remember it, but my parents do. And I had this like fear of cats, and I just kind of was a bit wary of them, like their potential. Kind of like, oh, I don't quite know them or understand them. As soon as I had a cat, I'm now, like I said, obsessed with cats, because you just can't help but love them because of everything that they do offer. But why do you think that that kind of negativity is ingrained in us? Like, where has it come from? I mean, is that the case in Greek culture? Is there a negative association?
In Greek culture, no. Unfortunately, they think of cats as the way we might think of, a fox or a raccoon, or they just think of them as naturally occurring outdoor animals, which is not true. Like cats are not meant to be undomesticated. And they wreak havoc on the natural environment. They kill small birds. Greece has a major population deficit on their small birds because of that. The magpies are huge, so that the cats have to actually band together to kill a magpie. So the magpies survive, but the magpies also eat some small bird species. So it's creating an environmental disaster, actually, the fact that there are so many stray cats in Greece. And there's been very scant EU efforts to try to help with that. But unfortunately, it's not really. They focused a lot on the stray dogs. Like when I was a kid, there used to be stray dogs everywhere, which could be dangerous. They could band in packs and attack people. It didn't happen often, but it was a possibility. So they focused hard on that, and then they got that under control, and so they kind of just backed out. And it's like, yeah, but the cats are Just because they don't attack tourists, it doesn't mean they're not bad for the environment, and doesn't mean it's not horrible for these cats, these sweet, sweet cats. They deserve homes. They're meant to be with us. Um, so that's an unfortunate just cultural misunderstanding in Greece is that they're outdoor animals. Um, I think the reason the Western culture demonizes cats or has demonized them in the past, we're definitely seeing a shift in that thanks to cat memes, I think. Um, but I think it goes back to the same reason that the serpent is demonized or that crows are demonized. It's because they are associated with women's mysteries. They're associated with the goddess and thereby pre-Christianity, which Christianity introduces dichotomy. It introduced hierarchy. The Abrahamic religions, as they rose to power, were about dominion. And whenever you introduce dominion and who's in charge, that's a hierarchy question. In ancient times, yes, we had warring tribes and we had, because even Greece wasn't a unified country until only 2,300 years ago. Before that, it was a tribal society, and then those became city states, which is just a fancy word for tribes. And most of Europe was run that way too. So you had competition for resources, but you didn't have necessarily this, we know best in our group. You don't know anything. It was more just, we want food, you want food. We're going to have to figure out who gets the food. Abrahamic religions rise and they introduce this dichotomy, this power over, this what's better, what's worse. And they introduce good and evil. You know, we didn't really have that before. We didn't have absolute goods, absolute evils. We just understood balance, which is the core of witchcraft for me is balance. It gives us that power back to bring balance. So serpents, always seen as a symbol of life, always seen as a symbol of goodness and the feminine, that had to become demonized. That becomes the thing that gives Eve the apple, which topples, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Cats are the same. They represent the feminine. They are beholden to no one. They don't like you just because you tell them to. They have to be wooed and won over. They have power. They are fast. They are the fastest animal. When you drop, like, you know, we always say cats land on all four feet. They have the most flexible spine of any living mammal. That's why that's true. A cat can jump from over 18 feet and land on its feet without pain because of its skeletal structure. They also have the fastest acceleration of any mammal. They are incredible beasts of incredible physical feat. So imagine if women associated themselves with cats fully, not just in the way they did in the 50s with movies and cinema of like, oh, she's cat-like, you know, like that sort of thing. What if we took that further and said, yeah, you're fierce like a cat. You're flexible like a cat, you know? So demonizing that keeps us from thinking of the power that is right there in the cat.
Mm, yeah, a good reminder there of taking responsibility for our perspectives and also for our actions as well. So, we are responsible for looking after the animals, that we have domesticated and that we have, changed from perhaps their natural way of being, and then also responsibility like for our perspective that we are uh, coming back to what is actually true for us and not what we've been told or the judgments or expectations.
And it's such a process. It's lifelong to peel back those layers. We don't always realize what's really going on
Yeah.
in why we think a certain way. So that's that shadow work again, which cats are great at helping us
Yeah.
with.
And we have 9 lives to go through it
At least nine.
to sort it all out. Oh gosh. So I'd love to know how your story began with cats. Have they been a spirit guide for you? Have they been a lifelong ally, or have they turned up in certain situations or experiences?
The first cat in my life was my mom's cat, who was a Greek rescue. When my parents moved back to the US from Greece in the 90s, like so that I could go to school in the US. They brought their cat that was a rescue from Athens. And my mom has wonderful stories of Elsa. She was a great cat. She was very snuggly, all these things. Not to me, not to the annoying, like 1.5-year old. So I remember learning boundaries with cats. That was probably the first thing I learned. She would hide under my mom's bed, and she would not hiss at me or bat at me if I stayed outside of the bed and just looked at her. But if I tried to reach in, she would fight. You know, she'd swipe at me or she'd hiss me. And I never was scared of her. I just understood. boundaries. So I wasn't particularly close with her, but we had an understanding. And then my aunt had a cat that was very similar as well. Cats understand that young children are unpredictable. So that's really the difference there, I think, as we get older. Cats aren't quite, that's not quite our experience with cats as we get older. But there was this like boundary holding that cats taught me, which was great because, now we know to talk about the children, but when I was growing up, like you had to hug every adult that wanted to hug you, and there was a lot of autonomy taken from you as a little girl, especially like when you're dressed up nice for church and random men pinch your cheeks, things like that. That just made me really uncomfortable. But I didn't feel like I was allowed to be uncomfortable. And I think unfortunately that's a very common experience for young girls. And cats showed me a fierceness that said, "No, I'm gonna swipe at you. I'm gonna bat at you." So as I got older, in elementary school still, I was very obsessed with endangered species, and I would go through the kind of list of what's this new endangered. I was constantly checking. We had a librarian we didn't have internet at home or anything, but she had internet, and so I was always asking for updates. And I said, did this one move from the endangered list to the, like I was always like
Mm.
curious. And then that's how I learned about leopards. And that was the end of it for me. I was obsessed with leopards forever. I still am. I absolutely love them. And so I would play leopard. I would actually like embody leopard medicine I had a friend who was also obsessed with leopards, and we would just be leopards. We would just walk around, we'd play outside as leopards. We'd climb in trees and lounge on them like leopards. And I look back at that now and I always think about how freeing that felt and how connected I felt and how good it felt to move your body in a way that humans don't. And we call that silly child play, but now as an adult teaching the path of the sacred wild, teaching connection to land and animal, it is part of what I do now. I have us move like lion. I have us move like crow. We can embody that medicine in a literal way. So Kat came to me very young and fully in that way. And then in middle school, we rescued more cats from Greece because we would always go to Greece every year for a few months. And sometimes a cat would appear, the cat distribution system, and we'd go through the process and adopt them. So we've had a few cats. All my life, we've had Greek cats. And as I'm sharing this, I'm actually realizing I think that's been part of how I've kept the Greek medicine in my life. Like, I don't have a very big attachment to Egypt, unfortunately, because it's such a difficult place to practice spiritual work. It's not welcome and it can actually be life-threatening. So I've never felt empowered to do what I can do in Greece, going to these ancient sites, bringing a frame drum, bringing offerings, and doing ritual. I wouldn't feel empowered to do that in Egypt. So there's always been a kind of wall up there. But the cat medicine is that bridge because the cats are sacred to the ancient Egyptians in very big ways. And these cats that I was working with, my first rituals were done with these cats from Greece in on the bed at the end of my, childhood room. So it's it's honestly incredible to look back at how much cats have been a big part of my journey.
Mm. Interestingly, like it sounds like they've been a real kind of medicine to bring you deeper into your body. Like there's some guys that help us to kind of maybe like what more I call it the upper chakras, kind of like the intuition or the go looking up and out, whereas they really feel like a kind of a embodiment, but more like a helping us to I can't think what the word is, but actually like be in our bodies, not escape. And there's so many things in a modern day that are calling us to be so much in our minds or to actually be outside of ourselves, like to look at what other people are doing in comparison or asking and waiting for people's permission or being controlled by external. And everything you share kind of sounds like Kat is really about kind of bringing you fully and more and deeper into your body, so you are incarnated in a physical body and can learn what that really means. I mean, I think especially as a woman, I think that's why they maybe appeal more to women, or maybe like when I'm in a like with my family, my brother is kind of less attached to cats and more to dogs, and I do kind of see that a bit more, that male female kind of, although obviously we don't
they're not just male, female, but those aspects of us, they can help us to kind of like get in touch maybe with more feminine side of ourselves.
Yeah. I think that's very true about cats. And it's interesting because they're kind of both in that. Maybe they are the best represented as the heart chakra. Because for me, I feel the heart chakra as that bridge between the lower chakras, which ground us and put us in reality and help us in our bodies, and then our upper chakras, which connect us to the all that is, the cosmos, deity, spirit work. Cats have that ability to be that bridge because they have keen intuition. They know, if you have a new person over to your house and your cat warms right up to them versus if they don't, that is a great litmus test for who they are as a person in your home and what their intentions are in your relationship and all those things. So they have the strong gift of intuition. They can feel when we need healing. But then they also do, they invite us to be really in the body.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me too. So something I've started doing in the past couple of years is when an animal, it's part of my Path of the Sacred Wild practices that I've been reviving with these ancient sites in Greece, is they kind of give you these directives of connecting to land in different ways. And one of them that they shared, which sounds very simple and everybody's probably like, well, duh, is let the animals that make themselves known to you teach you. And we say that all the time, but something that I didn't realize I wasn't doing was, okay, what does that animal do physically with their body? How can I do the same? So I had that experience last winter with Vulture, where I was learning how to take in vitamin D from the sun by moving around with Vulture. Cats, whenever my cats stop and stretch, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
So they literally, my guys around me, my little Willie and Emma, those are my kitties. Uh, when they stretch, I do too. And I feel so much better in my body to take those 2-3 minutes to stretch. And we people have cats in their home, they know that when a cat stands up, they stretch. They do a little front stretch, a little back stretch, shake it out, and then keep moving. We don't often always do that as humans, but if we start, it's not that we don't have time. It's just not a habit that we think of, because when we stand up, simply stretching as we walk is it's just good for us. So that's a very obvious and yet not obvious example of how cats have helped me with embodiment, is just kind of mimicking them, imitating them in my life. I wish I could stretch quite as good as they can. It looks really satisfying for them, but
Yeah, I always kind of got jealous. Like my cat would, I'd be trying to do yoga, and the cat would come in and like just do it next to me, and I'd be like, "You haven't even like practiced that, and I can't do that."
mine like to do
Show
yoga.
off, like, yeah.
I know they make it look so easy. Mine like to do my yoga with me under me. So I'll be in my like
Uh-huh.
downward dog and I'm like, this is not
Yeah.
safe, my friend. You gotta move over.
There must be a reason. Like they must. I wonder if they're feeling something. Like, and like what you were just saying then was making me really think like they about them bringing us into presence. So we're always rushing everywhere, aren't we? And we need to do this, even like our yoga. Like we do it now, we do it this time, then it's done, then we can move on to the next thing. But like being there, they're like, oh yeah, before you walk off and go and do the next thing, because you have just got up, stretch, just be here, be now, be in this moment. Maybe when they're kind of doing yoga with us, maybe that's kind of the vibe they're trying to give off, inspire.
I, yeah, I agree. I think that's very true. I struggle with presence as well. Like I'm always thinking about deadlines and this is next and am I doing everything I can between now and that deadline? And it's a creative anxiety that I think many people share. But the you're right. I mean, cats ask us to be present and how can you be restful? Because they are not afraid to take a rest day.
Yeah, and in the most amazing positions as well. Like, how
My
can you
favorite
rest like
thing,
off the side of the sofa with your head upside down? Apparently
I
you can.
know. My
And
little
cats
guy,
can.
Willie, he's so small. He's full grown, but he's a rescue from Greece as well. And unfortunately, when he came to us, he was a kitten, but he had already been in some sort of accident. He looked okay, but he was just moving weird. And so we did an x-ray, and he ended up needing to have one eye removed. And he healed, but he had broken like 30 little bones. It was awful. So he healed fully, but he's just so small. He's very stunted growth, and he has a heating pad that we put on for him every day so that he can rest his bones. Because we think he has some like arthritis, even though he's only 3 or 4 4 years old now. Um, but when he sleeps, he curls up like a little cephalopod. Like he literally looks like a shrimp. You're like, how is he so small? And he pulls his little nose under his face, like his hands over his nose. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, you don't need to do anything else. Just watch and stare. Just be there. Days
Yeah,
will pass.
it's so healing to look at them. They
Mhm.
heal you with every part of their existence.
They do. And as I don't know if it's real, but I was reading it's something that's come up a few times, like in the last week. It's probably one of these memes that's not real news, but I think it is, saying that scientists are doing a study to prove that cats are the most perfect being, like biological being on this planet. I was like, you don't need to test that. It's true.
Yeah.
There's no
Well,
studies needed.
and like I said about the spines being the most supple, their acceleration, I mean, they really are peak animals. And they've
Definitely.
evolved to also be adorable. Like that's part of their evolution is these big eyes, their cute meows, their little ears, like everything they've evolved to be is towards a perfection. Um, which maybe that's another way cat medicine helps us is with perfection. I think that word is very loaded, and perfectionism is a lot more toxic than people realize. It's a lot more toxic than people realize because it can keep you from doing. It can keep you from enacting what you're here to offer the world. And cats are perfect with little to no effort. It's just who they are. And in witchcraft, we have this undercurrent, at least in traditional modern witchcraft, of perfect love and perfect trust. That is the motto of witchcraft going back over 50 years now. And it puts a lot of pressure on that love and trust with the universe, with self, with our teachers, but not when we redefine perfect. And the way I always define perfect is whole unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
This is a perfect conversation because we've given it everything we could.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's whole unto itself. And cats are that way. And they are that perfect visual and spiritual representation of that in our lives. And I think it encourages us to just be ourselves, just be present with the task at hand and trust it to be enacted as it's meant to.
Yeah. And we know all of that's true because purr is even in the word perfect.
Yes.
Wonderful. So, leading on from that, have you got any like top tips or tools that people could use? So, say if they're watching this and they think, I really want to connect to cat spirit, cat energy or archetype, what would be your top tips or tools for them to begin with?
Number one is stretch. Get on the ground. Even if you've never had a cat in your home, you've seen a cat stretch on TV or something. Like, just do your best cat stretch. Do the one that takes you all the way forward, all the way back. And then there's, of course, cat pose, where we are on all fours with our knees and our hands in before us, and we arch our back like a Halloween cat, and then we move into cow. That is so fluid and peaceful, and if you're bodily able to, that is definitely the first way to get in touch with that cat medicine of presence, and the embodiment that cats ask us to do. So I would start with that one. Another great practice you can do, especially if you have a cat, is if you struggle with meditation. A lot of people struggle with meditation. Don't think of it as something that has to be done eyes closed, in lotus pose, fingers in, it doesn't have to be that. Meditation can be done while walking, it can be done, in the shower, it can be done in lots of different ways where our eyes are open and our bodies are participating. So one of my favorite ways to meditate is while petting my cat. And she'll kind of let me know. Willie is a little too rambunctious to engage in petting meditation, but Emma, she is a little chubby and she's so soft, and she just when she is in the mood to do a meditation with me, she will just sit next to me and just she's awake, but she's mostly asleep. And she just lets me pet her in the same way, like just all the way down her body in these soft, gentle pets. And I'll have my eyes open and I'll just kind of be sending her love while feeling her sending love back to me. So it's this circuit. As I'm petting her, it's this circuit of love being sent to and from my cat and I. And I also work with druidry, so I'll actually chant the awen with her. So her purring kind of forms this bass line, like she's like holding the metronome or something, and I just chanting the awen and feeling how long to hold each syllable of it. So that's really enjoyable. If you don't have a cat, you can put on purrs on they're on Spotify, they're on YouTube. You can put some purrs on and just have, you know, have that presence while you meditate of cat medicine.
Mhm. I have a friend who can like purr perfectly. I'm so jealous of her, but she can like proper do a full-on cat purr. And I just love it when she does it. And just like just keep doing that. It's like really relaxing me. So get a friend
That's
that can
cool.
purr.
Yeah. Yeah, or find a human friend who purrs. You've got options.
Oh no, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Some really good intro tips and tools there. And thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom of cats. And I am sure this will inspire people to connect more if they're not already. And also, find ways to contribute and say thank you to cat for all of their magic and their medicine that they are offering us. So thank you so much for being a guest on this episode and being perfect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
And yeah, I'll join all of you on the next episode for which animal will be next. There is so much wisdom coming from all of these amazing animals, and it blows me away, just everything that they're doing for us. So excited to carry on and deep dive with you, and hopefully Cat will inspire you today, and all these animals will continue to inspire you. So thank you for watching, and yeah, thank you for being here. Take care. Meow.